Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our SAGE 300 Visual Process Flows Lunch and Learn session. My name is Melanie Howell, and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Frontline Systems. And I have Lisa Lowry, one of our SAGE 300 consultants, on the call with me today. We are very excited to do this presentation for you, and we hope that by the end of this presentation, we will have helped spark some ideas of different ways that you can use visual process flows at your business. Here is our agenda for our session today. We're first going to go over what visual process flows are, why do they matter, how to create a custom visual process flow. We'll go over different setup options and then a few tips and tricks. So I want to start with a definition of what visual process flows are. The most simple definition we could come up with is that it's basically an interactive workflow diagram. Whenever you click on any of these icons here, you'll either be taken to a screen or a report. When would a visual process flow be helpful? It's helpful to minimize distractions. So you have all your different tasks that you need to get done. You can put them on a screen and just get them done in one go. Also, if there's a new employee that you're wanting to get trained, a custom visual process flow screen would be very helpful to allow them to get used to the system quickly. So now we're going to take a look at how to create a custom visual process flow, and I am going to ask Lisa Lowry to do that for us. Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mel. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, we're going to use as our example a new employee for process flow. So the first thing we have to do is start with the closest process flow that was going to match the new hire's responsibilities. You just don't create one from scratch. You pick one of the existing visual process flows and you start from that point. We're going to use an example that will be order entry transactions. So we're going to start with order entry transactions, and you see the visual process flows down here at the bottom of your menu. You right-click and edit. And the first thing I do is move these palette tools out of the way to see what our screen is going to look like. And unfortunately, it doesn't save this setting. You have to do it every time. That's one of the first things I like to do. The second thing I like to do when creating a brand new visual process flow is to change our title. This is going to make it distinctive from the standard out of the box template one, which you notice you cannot save this. You can't change the out of the box template. You have to do a brand new visual process flow. So that's why the save is disabled here. So order entry transactions, and we're just going to say new hire just to make that distinctive. The next thing I would do is I would come through and just kind of clean this up. It's like our new hire is not going to be doing day-end processing. If you try to click on something and then hit the delete button, it will not work. You have to either cut it here or you can use the control delete to remove it. So I'm going to just clean this screen up a little bit and take away some of the processes that this person is not going to be responsible for. And let's see, we're not going to give them journal letter transactions. We're not going to give them posting journals. So I'm just hitting control delete after I highlight. And this little box too that comes up tends to get in the way. You can just drag it out of the way as well. And they're not going to do debits and credits. I'm going to clean this line up, drag it in. Okay, so we're going to leave that as it is. So right now, I'm still in my template form. I need to create my new visual process custom, and I'm going to do a save as. And if this doesn't default, which I think it will, into the shared SAGE data folder, process flow, ENG, that's where it needs to reside because that's going to be your shared folder. So, and I'm going to call this OE transactions. New hire. I'm going to save it. Okay, so right now we have this new nice custom visual process flow. I'm going to close this, but it's not going to be visible until it's actually assigned to a user. So how you would assign it to a user is through Administrative Services, Assign Visual Process Flows. So we're going to pick our user. So you see currently this is what they have available for showing. And if you go all the way to the bottom, it's going to show you your custom process flows. And there's our new one that we just added. I'm going to click on that and save. And then close it. As soon as I close it, it should show down here at the bottom, which it does. So if I click on that, we have our new custom visual process flow. Okay, so right now, I'm going to go and start adding some additional functionality that this person is going to be responsible for. So I just, again, right-click and edit, and move my wonderful palette tools out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. If you drag these up beyond this bar right here, just note they do disappear and you won't be able to get them back. You can't drag them back. One thing I did want to note is right now all these buttons and these text are linked to a particular process or URL or macro, and how you can see those quickly is to hover over your link option, and if you notice, it shows you the ERP function that's associated with each of these, or if it's not an ERP function, it could be something else. It will show you what the link is that's associated with those buttons. So if you just hover over that link, that's going to show you that. So the first thing I'm going to add is a new ERP function. I do not see on this process flow the customer ship tos, which this person is going to be responsible for. So I'm going to add a new button. So I'm going to find a standard button to keep in line with the current theme that's on this process flow, and I know that they use the sage shapes. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make it kind of look like the customers. I'm just going to pick this object right here, and it's going to drop it right on the screen, and then I will move it down to where I want it to show. Now at this point, it's just a button. It doesn't have any options on it. It's not going to do anything but show a button. We have to add a link to it. So as long as that button is highlighted, we can go to link, and we're going to assign it an ERP function. That function is going to be listed as a part of whatever application it is associated with. And in this case, we're talking about an accounts receivable function, and it's going to be ship to locations. So you'll notice everything that's been installed should be included in this drop-down as well as the screens. Now, the person that we're assigning this process flow to should have privileges to this function as well, just something to also note. And then that's it. You just click OK. Now, right now, nobody knows what this does. I'm going to add a label to it, and you can do that in a couple of different ways. You can add a box. I like to do a copy and paste. So let me find my copy here. So that's highlighted. I want to copy, and then I'll do a paste. And then I can move it over. There we go. Grab it and move it over. It seems like you have to grab that highlighted bar. See the bar down at the bottom, or if it's highlighted at the top. So now I'm going to change it to customer ship tos. And another thing to note, if you're doing a copy of anything from the screen, it's liable to have a link already associated with it. So what you might want to try to do is go ahead and highlight it and check the link on it, and see that because I grabbed this from the items, it already had a link associated to it. So I'm just going to remove the link. I could go ahead and add the ship to link to that, but I'm not going to do that for this purpose. So right now we have added a new ship to button linked to the ship to function, and I'm going to save. Because we're already in our custom flow, we can just save it now. I'm going to close it. and then I'm going to test it. So it should show up and bring up our customer ship tos. And you can do this with any screen, I believe. I don't think there's any restrictions on the screens. As long as it's in the drop-down, you can assign it to it. Okay, so the next thing I want to add is I want to add a link to a URL. And this could be a web URL, it could be a file, it could be a PowerPoint presentation, which is what I'm going to add. So we go back to our process flow and we edit it. We move our palettes out of the way again. I'm going to leave that one up there this time. Okay, so we pick our button that we want to use. I'm just going to create this one down at the bottom. Okay, so it throws it on our window. And we can move it out of the way. And something you can also see this little T out here. You can add text right to the button itself, which is what I'm going to do for this purpose. So we're just going to create a PowerPoint link. Okay, and again, we want to assign a link to it. And it's not going to be an ERP function. It is going to be a URL. The colon first HOWL desktop lunch. And okay, save, close. There we go. Okay, and open, and we have our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, I'm going to close that for now. And actually, I'm going to leave it open because once we kick back to Mel, she will need that open. The next thing I want to do is add a link to a program. We use a lot in our business and our development. One of the biggest tools that we use is Notepad++. So I'm going to add another image here. And let's see, I want to let's do an icon. And we'll just put a little note clipboard on here. And it's a little big, so I'm going to shrink it down. Okay, and then we add our link. And in this case, it's going to be a program. So here you can actually drill down to the program, System 32. I think I'm already in that folder, Notepad, exe. And then open. Click OK. Save. See, isn't that easy? It's so easy. Close. And then click on your note. And you've got your Notepad open. Hopefully you are thinking about other ways that you can add things that are typically external, or if you have them outside on your desktop, you can actually throw these in your process flow window and not have to exit Sage 300 for these purposes. Some of the other things that you can do that we're not going to get into too much detail on for time purposes are, I'm just going to open this one back up and look at links. Other processes. Other processes are going to allow you to link to another process flow. So if you selected other processes, it's going to actually ask you, and you would drill down to where the process flows exist, which should be on Sage 300. Whoops, runtime. Visual process flows. So we have your custom ones. You can go and link to some of these other ones that you need to go to if you go back and forth from one to another, or if you want to create sub process flows or submenus, you can actually create little submenus to link to and then have on that a link back. Another option is a report, which is going to look for a crystal report. Crystal reports, again, are the RPT extensions. You can point to any of the Sage 300 reports. When you do that, it will come up and prompt you for the typical options. If it has options for order document number range, or it will bring down that option grid for you to make those selections. You can also point to a custom crystal report here as well. Macro is the last one. Macro is where you can create a macro or a recorded set of steps from within Sage 300 using the record macro. And then once you have your macro, you can actually assign it to a button on your process flow. Basically, you would just create the macro, save it, and then point to the macro folder, again, which is going to be on your programs. Macros. Okay. So we've got several macros that are already created here. Then you would just point to that macro on the link. Then when you click that link, it will run that macro. So these down here are not available. So you have lots of different choices to use when creating new buttons and new functionality. One thing I was looking at when I was going through these processes is, you know, they have a lot of nice buttons and they're all fine and good, but what if I wanted to add my own button? I did find that there were certain folders that allowed you to do this. One of them was the photos folder, and I'll explain what that means. So this button wasn't there originally. It was just this one photo. What I determined was if you drill down to the folder where these flow charting images exist, and it is in the runtime, and then it really does get VFP, Visual Process Flow, flow charting, XText, Sage libraries, this long folder path. But if you drill down to one of these folders and you see this list file, this will indicate a place where you can add your own image. So what I did was I created my little note image. First, I would recommend, as always, making a backup copy of anything before you change anything. So this is my backup copy. And then if we look at this, all I did, here we'll look at the original one as well too. All I did was add my image name in this list, saved it, got out, got back into my edited the visual process flow, and my note appeared where I expected it to, which is here. Not all of these folders have that list table because I think they use Windows libraries, so I did not get that far to determine how we could include additional folders, but I imagine that that's something that could be easily determined as well. One other little thing I wanted to show you guys was the edit background. So if you click over here, you see this toolbar right here. Edit background allows you to put things in this backspace behind all of your boxes, all of your text. So if you want to change your background, you can actually add one. You just click on it, and then it actually will allow you to manipulate things behind this. And then you can save that. But to get back to your front buttons and your actual functionality up here, you have to uncheck that edit background. So now you're back to here. Getting save. Oh, I'll probably need to drag those back over here too. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Edit background. Make him a little bit bigger. Save. And close. So now we have that nice background. So there's another piece of functionality out here that's called actions. And for this, I am going to pass it back to Mel, and we'll have a wrap up and some Q&A.
Great, Lisa. Thank you for doing that for us. And now we're going to quickly go over actions. When you click, you are able to see numbers associated with all the different icons and text on the screen. So we're just going to go over the different action options you have. And really, it just depends on how nifty you want to get with how you want to customize the screen. I'll go over them very quickly. The first option is to show as a mini menu. And they really were not kidding when they called it a mini menu, because you literally can only select one item on the mini menu. So for the purposes of this demo, I picked number 8, which is this tool tip icon over here, and number 14 as the text that it links to and will show up on the mini menu. So let's just see what that looks like. So number 14 is the text right here. Click OK, click Save, close. Now when I go back here, when I click on this, will see the invoices text show up. So that gives you an idea of what the mini menu looks like. So let's go back and see what are the other options. Let's click on actions again, and then another option is to lock and unlock mini menus. And I won't show this to you just to save time, but basically it's just another icon that you can pick. That's just one other place that you can use to toggle a mini menu from. Then there's show as tooltip, and that's something that's already set up on this screen. So it's number 8, which is again the tooltip icon here, the little light bulb, and then that's linked to number 7 and 9, which is the text right here and the shape right behind it. So let's look at that as well. Okay, close. So when you click here, it basically shows the text and the shape behind it. So it's not even clicking, you just scroll over the light bulb, it shows the text and the shape behind it. Let's click edit again. Let's go to actions. So then let's look at what other options we have. Then we have show and hide, and then show hide. So let's just look at an example here. 17 and 21 is set up as a show and hide option right now, and that is right here, number 17 and number 21, and it's linked to all of these other text, shapes, and icons, and those are, you see, like number 16, 18, 19, 20. So that's all of this right here. So let's look at what that looks like. So when you click, it was showing it and then it'll hide it. So it's pretty self-explanatory. By clicking on the text or the icon, you're able to show and hide the shape and the text. And the other option was show or hide. If you choose show, then it'll constantly show the shape and the text. If you choose hide, then it'll hide it for you. So that's a very quick overview of actions. Once again, you would customize this to your needs. Hopefully we've given you some ideas to think about how you can use this at your business. Both Lisa and I are happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this session useful. Thank Thank you.